Hello everyone. I assume everyone has seen the menu for today. We'll be starting it off at 5:10. Till then, you people can have a notebook along.
How many of you are from first or second year?
चैट बॉक्स में लिख दो सेशन को इंटरैक्टिव बनाएंगे. Hi Nidesh.
Hello Nilesh. ओके सो स्टार्ट करते हैं अभी. मीनवाइल कोई ज्वाइन होगा तो उसको ऐड कर देंगे. आई एम ऑडिबल ना?
Yes, yes.
Okay, so welcome everyone for the day 1 of our session. This is Introduction to Data Structures and myself Aniket Kharpatil. I am CP lead of CodeChef RIT chapter. So today we are going to cover what are data structures. Then we will see the different types of data structures, the primitive data types, application of DS and operations on data structures. So एकदम फ्रेंडली सेशन रहेगा और जो कोई भी फर्स्ट या फिर सेकेंड ईयर के उन लोग के लिए भी हेल्पफुल रहेगा. सो लेट्स स्टार्ट. We have made the PPT in a very simple way as we can so that all of you can understand about it. So first point is what is data structure. So let's understand what is data. So data can be defined as an elementary value, like data can be any item or name or anything which you can see in the real world, like a student's name or the roll number of student, their ID, or any ice cream flavors or anything you can count and you can be defined as an elementary value. It can be considered as a data. Then what is data structures? So a data structure is a way of organizing the data so that it can be used efficiently. So data structure is actually structuring the data in different formats so that we can understand it better way and make analysis on it. So here we have used as you can see two words, efficiently, the which in terms of both space and time. So इन टर्म्स ऑफ स्पेस मतलब कितना ज़्यादा स्पेस या फिर कितने कम स्पेस में हम कितना डेटा स्टोर कर सकते हैं, एंड इन टर्म्स ऑफ टाइम लाइक इन short amount of time, how fast you can process that data. So these are two important functions of data structure. So now let's see the different types of data structure. Data structures can be mainly divided into two parts: primitive data structure and non-primitive data structures. So primitive are the ones which are predefined by the programming language or your compiler. So there are four main types, which are integer, float, character and boolean. Then coming to non-primitive data structures, these are defined by the users or which we have derived it from the primitive data structures. Here we have linear data structure and non-linear data structures. So in linear also there are different types. First is array, then stack, then queue and linked list. In non-linear data structures we have trees, graph and hash table. Now we will understand all of these in detail in the upcoming slides. So for today's session actually we will be covering only linear data structures and their first part, which is arrays. So in linear data structures, again we can define them into two types, which is static and dynamic. Static means once we allocate the memory, for that part only we can perform the action, like which is array. So for creating an array, first you have to define the memory for it. So it is called as a static data structure. In dynamic data structure, you can increase or decrease the size as per your needs whenever you want to add or remove certain elements from the data structure. So in dynamic we have three types: linked list, queue and stack. Non-linear data structures are tree and graph, about which we will not talk right now because those are different topics. So firstly we will talk about linear data structures. So एक्चुअल में डेटा स्ट्रक्चर्स को देखेंगे अगर आपको इंटरव्यू क्वेश्चंस में पूछा जाएगा या फिर जब भी आप कोई कॉम्पिटिटिव प्रोग्रामिंग का क्वेश्चन सॉल्व करोगे और एनी डीएसए रिलेटेड क्वेश्चन, तो फर्स्टली यू शुड कीप इन माइंड दैट देर आर टू मेन टाइप्स ऑफ डेटा स्ट्रक्चर्स ओनली, विच आर क्यू एंड स्टैक. ये दोनों बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है. क्यू और स्टैक ये दोनों सर्टन ऑपरेशंस फॉलो करते हैं विच आर फीफो एंड लीफो. वो हम लोग बाद में डिस्कस करेंगे. लेकिन इसके लिए ही स्टैटिक और डायनामिक डेटा स्ट्रक्चर्स का यूज़ किया जाता है. लाइक वी कैन इम्प्लीमेंट क्यू बाय यूजिंग अरेज और वी कैन इम्प्लीमेंट क्यू बाय यूजिंग लिंक लिस्ट. Same for stack, we can implement stack using arrays and stack using linked list. And in all of these data structures we have different types of operations on them. There are again subtypes in these data structures, which are circular linked list, doubly linked list. In queue also we have circular queue. So in this way there are many subtypes of these data structures. Now coming to the primitive data types. So primitive data types, as we see in this previous slide, there are four main types: integer, float, character and boolean. So we will discuss about it. So we have some predefined data structures which are already made into our compiler. These are called as primitive data structures. These data structures, the data structures are different from the primitive types, but they have the same that because they are predefined, so we cannot add or modify them. Like there is int type or float type, so you cannot add or create new space for int, or you cannot increase the memory for the int type of data structure because it is predefined. These are called as primitive data structures. Now we will talk about their ranges and how they are considered into programming. So Vaibhav will take over.
Good evening, everyone. Myself, Vaibhav Korlekar. I am a tech researcher at CodeChef. So, I will be explaining you the data types, calculation order for data types, operating precedence, and overflow in calculation. So, next slide, Aniket. So, why the order of data types in calculation is important? We can see that it is increasing from character int, long int. Uh, we need to know the ranges of each data types to avoid the overflow in a calculation. We'll see one example. I will present my screen. Is my screen visible?
Yes.
top of it is.
So why we need to know the calculation of for order of for data types. So whenever we perform any operations using integer. Now here I want to divide 7. Uh, I want to perform 7 divided by 2. So we know that 7 and 2 both are integers. So their output 7 divided by 2 is actually 3.5. But we execute this code, the output is 3 because whenever it performs a division operation, it checks the order for the calculation. In calculation, it checks the order of data type. In suppose rather than taking 2 as an integer, if I take it in decimal, it will provide us the output of 3.5. So it is important to know the order of the data type. So in this slide, uh, Aniket,
Yes.
PPT. Hmm. So here we have seen that the double has a more precedence order than the integer. Okay, next slide. Then the next topic is order precedence. So in the order of precedence, this addition, increment, and decrement order has given a higher priority, but they are at a same level. Whenever we want to give them precedence, we calculate it from left to right. Here we can see multiplication, division. They are also having a same level of precedence, but while calculating an expression, we check their associative from left to right. I will give you the example. Uh, in this case, I also want to explain you one thing. Here you can see this. If I take integer a and do this calculation, 7 divided by 2.0. Okay, and now I want to print this integer a. Now we know that our calculation is in the uh, double data type, but while storing the that data in integer, it will only take only integer part, right? Instead of 3.5, it will take only 3. But to get the uh, decimal value, we have to change the data type from integer to double. Then only we'll get the that decimal part. Okay. Then we are discussing order of precedence. So in order of precedence, uh, if I do 7 divided by 2, 7 and 2 both are in integers, multiply with 3. Can anyone tell me what will be the output? Output is 9 because 7 divided by 2, it is actually 3.5, but 7 and 2 both are in integer data type, so the calculation takes place in an integer. So 7 divided by 2 is 3 and 3 into 3 is 9. It is so we know that division and multiplication having the same order of precedence, but they give the associative from do the left to right. Okay, so first the division will take place and then their multiplication. Uh, Next slide. So now we'll understand what is overflow in calculation. It is really very important to when we are doing competitive programming. What happens in a competitive programming? They are always give us some integer ranges, and we have to uh, uh, do our calculation only in those ranges. Okay, so what happens sometimes? Suppose I have this code written. Okay, what is huh. So here the integer a is taking 10 raised to power 5, integer b is taking 10 raised to power 5, but when I am multiplying them, so I need the output 10 raised to 5, but we know that the range of an integer is from minus 10 raised to power 9 to plus to the 10 raised to power 9. Okay, and our output is in the power of 10, right? 10 raised to power 5 multiply with 10 raised to power 5, output is 10 raised to power 10. So our result answer is it we will get the output but on the cost of accuracy, right? We'll get the output but it will be not accurate. So to get the accurate value, what we will do, we will add. So what is happening? First thing is that a into b, a is also integer, b is also integer. The calculation is taking place in terms of integer. Even though if we change the variable c from int to long int, still will face some problem. See, our now c is in long int, so we expect it to give the correct output, but it is not giving the correct output. So what is the thing? Even though the c is in a long int, but the calculation which is taking place is in terms of integer type. So to make our calculation in a long integer, we multiply a decimal number. Okay, 1 ll. ll means long integer. ओके, सो लॉन्ग इंटीजर का रेंज क्या है? 10 रेस टू पावर 18 टू 10 रेस टू पावर 18, राइट? सो वो कैलकुलेशन लॉन्ग इंटीजर में चला जाएगा. अभी हम लोग आउटपुट करेंगे तो 10 रेस टू 5 आउटपुट आएगा. ओके, ये समझ गए? फिर हम लोग को ओवरफ्लो देखना है. तो ओवरफ्लो में कैसा होता है कि ओवरफ्लो में क्या होता है कि हम लोग पहले ना एक डेटा टाइप लेते हैं. सपोज मैंने इंटीजर डेटा टाइप लिया, उसका मुझे सब इंटीजर डेटा टाइप की रेंज में सबसे मैक्सिमम वैल्यू, इंटीजर डेटा टाइप का रेंज क्या है? माइनस 10 रेस टू पावर 9 टू 10 रेस टू पावर 9, राइट? उसके रेंज में उसका सबसे हाईएस्ट मैक्सिमम वैल्यू क्या है? वो मेरे को इंट मैक्स कीवर्ड इससे मिलेगा. अभी इंट मैक्स एक कीवर्ड है, उससे उस वेरिएबल में इंटीजर की सबसे मैक्सिमम वैल्यू स्टोर हो जाएगी. मैं उसको प्रिंट करता हूं, तो ये उसकी मैक्सिमम वैल्यू है. ठीक है. तो ओवरफ्लो में क्या होता है कि हम लोग को पता होना चाहिए कि उसकी रेंज क्या है. इंट मैक्स, हाँ इधर सेमी कॉलर नहीं दिया. इट इज वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट टू नो द रेंज ऑफ ईच डेटा टाइप. हाँ, तो अभी अगर हम इसमें +1 कर देंगे इंट मैक्स में, तो वो रिवर्स चला जाएगा. हाँ, तो ये अभी ये देखो वैल्यू जो है ना, वो माइनस 10 रेस टू पावर 9 में चली गई. हमेशा ओवरफ्लो में क्या होता है कि जो टॉप मोस्ट वैल्यू है ना, अगर उसके बाहर जा रही है तो फिर से वो रिवर्स हो जाती है. ये हम स्टडी करते हैं ओवरफ्लो में. जनरली इसे अवॉइड करना चाहिए. अवॉइड करने के लिए हम लोग हमेशा कैलकुलेशन लॉन्ग इंटीजर में करते हैं. ठीक है. ओके, सो दैट्स इट. ओवर टू यू अनिकेत.
Okay.
नेक्स्ट स्लाइड.
So as we can see that we have seen different types of data structures, but we should also know about the applications of those data structures in our real life. So for storing list of data elements, we can use arrays. So this is one of the application. Then again, for auxiliary storage for other data structures, we can use, like for storing the data structure of linked list, we can make use of array. For storing queue and stack, we can make use of arrays. In polynomial implementation for mathematical operations, like the operations which contain x cube plus x square and all, तो उनके कैलकुलेशन के लिए लिंक लिस्ट का यूज़ कर सकते हैं. Then operating system functions which are done inside our computer, those functions make use of stack and queue data structures. For example, job scheduling, CPU scheduling and disk scheduling algorithms, these are all based on queue data structure. Also there are many different applications which we will get to know once we start solving the problems about it. Then coming to operations on data structures, like when we have data structures, what we can do on them, we can perform these operations: insert, delete, update, search and sort. Searching and sorting, there are mostly different types of algorithms. Main operations are inserting, deleting and updating. So we will see them one by one. So in searching, we can search for any element in a data structure. Like array is like a list. So in a list, if you want to search any number or any character, you can give the data value for that character, and then the data structure will give you the output of the value which you want to find. In sorting, we can either sort the elements of a data structure in ascending or descending order. Then again, in insertion we can add new elements to our data structure, like we can add new element to our arrays, like for if array is of size 5 and we have only 4 elements, we can add the fifth element. Then for updation, we can update the value of the element, that is we can override the value. Then again, deletion, in deletion we can delete directly the value which you don't want. So these are the major operations on data structure. For searching and sorting, as I said, we have different types of algorithms which we will study after covering the data structures part. So the plan is actually for these 3 weeks we will be covering all the data structures which are linear data structures: arrays, linked list, stack and queue. And once those are completed, then we will go with the algorithms. For today's session, we are going to cover the starting part of the array. Okay, so before coming for implementation of arrays, firstly let's understand some prerequisite for coding the data structures, like which language we can use, or which conditions and statements or loops we are going to use. So in language, you can use any language of your choice, which is we have Java, C, C++, Python. Here we are going to discuss everything in C++ because it is most asked in interviews, and also for the coding rounds it is really important. Also C++ is faster than Python and better than Java because Java has lot of statements. So you can even try with Java. We are going to teach in C++. Okay, so coming to the conditional statements and loops. Firstly, let's understand what is a loop. So loop is a programming structure which repeats a sequence until a specific condition is met. So like in loop we can consider it as a circular loop only. तो वो सर्कल में घूमता रहेगा जब तक उसको वो स्पेसिफिक कंडीशन जो मेंशन किया है वो मिलता नहीं, एंड वंस दैट कंडीशन इज सेटिस्फाइड इट विल रन दैट कोड एंड इट विल गेट आउट ऑफ द लूप. So for this we have 4 different types of loops. Firstly is the if else statement loop. In if else statement, first we have to make a condition. So in this flowchart, as you can see, this is the start. Once it is started, it goes to the condition. So there is one condition. If the condition is said to be true, then it will execute the code which is written inside the if statement, and once the code is executed, it will get out of the if statement. Or else if the condition is false, then it will go and execute the else statement, and if else statement is not given, then it will go for the next type of loop.
Aniket, sorry to interrupt. Can
Yeah.
you please share your screen once again?
Okay.
Yeah, it's visible now. Thank you.
Okay, so I'll explain the if else statement once again. So inside if else statement, first we have the condition. So if the condition is true, then it will execute the code which is written inside the conditional loop, and once that code is executed, it will go out of the loop. And if the condition is false, it will go for the else statement, which is the different part of the loop. So if the else statement code is executed, then it will get out of the if else statement loop. ये अभी के लिए हम लोग ऐसे ही थियोरी पार्ट में बता रहे हैं, बाद में कोड करके बताएंगे अरेज के इम्प्लीमेंटेशन में, तो समझ में आ जाएगा. नेक्स्ट इज द फॉर लूप. In for loop, we have a repetition of the control structure which is being executed by the terms of an variable which is an init value. So inside for loop, this is the syntax where we have to first give an init value of a variable, then we have to specify the condition, and then we have to increment that variable. Like if we are going to initialize a variable I, int I, then we have to first initialize it to 0 or any value which you want. So for I equal to 0, then we have to give the condition like I less than or I greater than something. Then we have to keep incrementing that variable. So for that many times this statement S will be executed. Like if you want to print something inside this, so that many times the value will be printed. So this is the flowchart of the for loop. It will go for the condition, then the condition till increment value, it is a big loop. So if the condition is true, the code block will be executed, the value of variable will be incremented. Again it will go and check the condition. Again if it is true, the code block will get executed, or if it is false, then it will get out of the for loop. So in this way the for loop is acting. Next is while loop. So while loop represents a statement which is executed until the while condition is true. So it is just like for loop, but here we are not going to use that incrementing and variable value. Here directly we are giving a condition. Until the condition is true, the while loop will keep on running. So inside while loop we have to check for the condition. If the condition is true, the code block will be executed, or if it is false, then it will get out of while loop. If the code block is true, it will keep on implementing until the condition becomes false. Next is do while loop. Do while loop is also similar to the while loop. Inside do while loop, first we have the do condition. So inside do condition we write the code which we are writing inside the while loop. So same code is written here, and after that, after closing the do, we are writing the while condition. So what happens in do while loop is that if you have to perform any statement and it has certain limit for it, like if you want to print a number 5 times, so you write that condition inside the while condition, like something less than 5, so till that time you have to print it. But due to do loop, it will be implemented for all 5 times, like for the 6th time also it will implement, but for that if the value is empty, it will not print anything. So in this way do while loop acts. So do while loop majorly we will not use in array data structure, but we will make use of while and for loops. Okay, so coming to the linear data structures, we have, as we have said, we have 4 types of data structure. So first is array, so we will start covering with the array. Before that part, Benalin, if you want to show the reel. Hello. Okay, she's not there. Am I audible? Hello.
Niket, you are audible.
Okay. So we will start with the linear data structure. So first part is arrays. So arrays are defined as the collection of similar data types. Like it is a list of similar type of items. For example, अगर लिस्ट बना रहे हो नेम्स ऑफ स्टूडेंट्स का, तो उसमें सिर्फ नेम्स ही रहेंगे. नेम्स इन मतलब कैरेक्टर्स रहेंगे. तो उसमें आप लोग नंबर्स नहीं डाल सकते कि नेम्स में 3-4 नेम्स डाल दिए और उसके बीच में कुछ नंबर डाल दिया, तो डैट इज़ नॉट कॉल्ड एन अरे. सो डैट वायलेट्स द अरे लॉ ऑफ अरे. So array will only contain similar type of data structure, data types. So like name of students, roll number of students, or we can say name of certain companies, then the count of something. In this way we can define arrays. Then arrays can store the primitive data type of structures, which are int, character, boolean, double and float. So any of this you can give the value to array. So for declaring an array, you have to give this is the syntax. Firstly we have to define the type, then the array name and array size. So I will show this to you on the compiler only. Okay, so for defining an array you can give any data type. Like suppose I want to give int, then you have to give the array name. Like if you want to give array1, then inside the square bracket you have to give the size of this array. So if I want to give the size as 50 and then semicolon, so this will define our array. So we have declared our one array, int array of 50, array1 of size 50. Then next we have is initializing the array. So for initializing, what we can do, we can just write equal to, and inside curly bracket you can start giving value for this array1. So let's say this is of size 5, and inside this array you want to give the value as 1 2 3 4 5. So this is our array containing 5 elements, which are the integer values 1 2 3 4 and 5. So integer value you can also give the negative values also here. So like you can, if you want -1, -2, -3, anything you can give. Just character, if you want to type in character in here, like, so this cannot be done because this is only of type integer. So
Dala.
you cannot add
Ala,
characters
ala.
here. Okay, so now I'll show you how to perform some operations on array. So we will understand with this program. The link for the compiler is shared in the chat box, I guess. You can open it here. Okay, so I will code this from beginning only. You may be knowing the syntax of C++, that is, for start we have to include #include iostream for input output, then using namespace std because we don't want to write std every time, we have to write cout and cin for input and output values. Okay, so let's start. So firstly I will define an integer n which will be the size of our array. Then we will ask the user to provide this size. Then we will take the input of this. Once we get the input, we can define our array. So we want an array of int value, int array, I can say this as of size n. So array of size n will get defined. Then for taking input into this array, what we can do, we can make use of for loop. So for, then inside for loop we can give integer I, we have to initialize it to 0. Then for I less than n, we can do I plus plus. Okay, so for this for loop we are initializing our integer I to 0, which
ये
will be
एक
our
मेरा
count.
array है of size 1. A of 1.
So for I less than n, like till I is less than the size of this array which we have taken into input, this for loop will run, so that we can take input for each and every element which the user is going to enter. So here in the start I can write that cout enter elements. Or if you want, cout enter n elements. So inside array we will take the input for each and every element. See in array of I. Sorry, we will take the value which will be array of I. Then once all the elements are taken, we can display the array as again we have to use for loop, so same we can copy and we just have to show the output. So we can run this code now. Okay, so it is showing an error. Okay, so I have defined your name as ARRAY. That's so firstly it is asking for the size, so I want a array of size 4. Then I have to enter 4 elements, so 1 2 3 4. Then it is displaying the array is 1 2 3 4. So what we can do for about this space problem is there, so just you can give here some space. then again here, then for displaying array we have to show some space after those. So if you want an array of size 5, so we have to enter 5 elements, so 1 2 3 4 5. Okay, so in this way it is taking values for array and it is printing the array elements. So this is the example of linear array. In data structures we also have multi-dimensional array. So now let's understand what are multi-dimensional arrays. If you are executing the code and you have doubt, you can ask me. You can unmute and ask. So next is multi-dimensional array. So multi-dimensional arrays are the arrays which are having more than one dimension. So the one we studied right now was 1D array, which is linear array. Now we will see what is 2D array. So we can have 2D, 3D or 4D arrays which will be of having different dimension. So for 2D array we can say it as a table. So for 2D array we have to give the number of rows and number of columns. So firstly we will have to make an input for how many columns and how many rows we want. After that we have to enter the elements inside those row and columns. So this is the first cell which is row 0 and column 1. This will be called as A00. Then next is A01, which is row 0 column 1, A02 row 0 column 2, and A03 row 0 column 3. Then again for row 1, row 2, and how many rows if you want to give, you can give that. So for 2D array you have to initialize the array in this way, which is int a. लीनियर के लिए हम लोग सिर्फ int a 3 लिख सकते थे, लेकिन अभी इधर int a square bracket 3 square bracket 4. It means that it will be having 3 rows and 4 columns. Then we give the equal to sign, then same curly bracket which we used previously, and inside curly bracket we will take 3 rows. So we have to give 3 lines of curly brackets again. Then inside that we have to give 4 values for each curly bracket. So this is the value for first row, these are the values for second row, these are the value for third row. For in case of column we have 4 columns, so that's why we are entering 4 elements. So if you can see it, it's looking like a table, 0 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10 11. So this is our row 1, row 2, row 3, column 1, column 2, column 3, column 4. So in this way we can define multi-dimensional arrays. So we have one problem based on that. First problem is we have to sort two given arrays, and next problem is we have to add two two-dimensional arrays. So 2D arrays के बारे में हम लोग वापस आएंगे, उसके बारे में वैभव ये प्रॉब्लम सॉल्व करेगा. फर्स्टली अभी 1D array का मैं आपको ये प्रॉब्लम सॉल्व करके दिखाता हूँ. So the problem is that we are given two sorted arrays. Our task is to merge those two arrays into a single array. So I already have the code for that. I will discuss it because we are going out of time. So inside int main, what I have to do, firstly we have to make 3 arrays. So I am making array 1, array 2 and array merge, which is our final array. So both of these I have given the size as 50, 50 and 100. These are just I have given bigger sizes because in case of overflow we don't want our arrays to show some errors, overflow errors. Then we have to give some integer values. S1 and S2 are the sizes of array 1 and array 2. Then I and k are just the initializing integers which we'll be using in the for loop and while loop. So firstly we will take input for the first array. So for that we are using cin value. So how the size of the first array, then we will take input for each and every element for the first array. So the same code which we use here, yes, this one. Here we are taking input for array elements, array of I. So for that many times we will be taking the input for the first array. Then once we take input, I am going to store the array merge values with the array 1 value. Like first array में जो कुछ भी elements का input लिया, वो सब लोग हम लोग array merge के array में store करेंगे, which is the third array. So third array में हम लोग first array के सारे values store करके रख देंगे. For that what we have to write is array of merge ऑफ आई इक्वल टू अरे 1 ऑफ आई। सो ये फॉर लूप के अंदर है, तो जितने भी टाइम ये फॉर लूप चलेगा उतने टाइम मर्ज वाले अरे के अंदर अरे 1 के वैल्यूज़ आते जाएंगे। नेक्स्ट वी हैव टू मेक k इक्वल टू आई। दिस इज बिकॉज for I we have to go we are going to take input for the merged array, first array, and then we are storing it in the merged array. Then we are making the integer value k equal to I, so that we can again start with the kth value of merged array, which is the third array. So again we will take size for the second array, then we will take the input elements for the second array and store it in array 2. तो array 2 में सारे एलिमेंट स्टोर हो गए। तो जैसे स्टोर हो जाएंगे अरे मर्ज के केथ वाले वैल्यू के साथ में हम लोग इसके वाले एलिमेंट्स ऐड करना स्टार्ट कर देंगे। सो फॉर आई अगर इधर 5 एलिमेंट स्टोर हो गए अरे मर्ज में, लाइक फॉर अरे 1 इफ आई एम टेकिंग 1 2 3 4 5, these are the elements which I am going to store in array 1. Then all these elements 1 2 3 4 5 will be again stored in array merge. Then after that here I value will be k, I value will be equal to 5, and that same value we are going to give for k because I equal to k, so k will become 5. After that for the second array we are going to take input, so like if we are going to take 4 elements in the second array, so it can be 10 11 12 13. So these are the elements which are stored in the second array, array 2. So for here we again initialize I to 0, and then we took values for the fourth array, so I will again become 0 here. Then after taking input for all the arrays, I will become 4. Now k is equal to 5. So here we are incrementing k. So for after each of these value, k will get incremented by 1. So when k equal to 6, the merged array, which is array merge will become, उसमें पहले से 1 2 3 4 और 5 थे, उसके बाद 10 आ जाएगा for k equal to 6. Then again for k equal to 7, 10 के बाद में 11 आ जाएगा. So in this way for till k reaches 9, all the elements will be stored in the array merge. So 11 12 13, so 7 plus 8 plus 9. तो जब तक k 9 हो जाएगा तब तक array merge में सारे elements स्टोर हो जाएंगे. So in this way we are going to store firstly the elements of first array into our merged array, then we will store the elements of the second array along with the merged array. तो merged array में पहले से first array के elements थे, then second array के elements भी store हो जाएंगे. Then we will print the third array. So let's run this. So firstly we have to enter the size of the first array, so I'm giving 5. Then the 5 elements for first array, 1 2 3 4 5. Then the size for the second array, so if I want to give the size as 6, then I have to give the elements for the second array, so I'm giving 11 12 13 14 15 16. So this is the merged array which is having 6 plus 5 11 elements in it. So I'm sharing this code on the chat box also, you can try it. Okay, so I hope you understand this code. Now Weber, you will share the second code.
Yes, Aniket. Screen visible now?
Yes, it's visible.
We are going to perform the addition of 2D array. Am I audible?
Yes, you are audible.
Yes, yes. So we are given here the inputs. The input is that the first line indicates the number of test cases. The second line is number of rows and columns for the array. Um, these are the first array element. These are the array element for second matrix. So to take this test case, we have declared integer t. um, we have read the input using scene function. Now we are using a while t minus minus. What will the t minus minus do? uh, it is like whenever the while loop takes 0, it gives false, and false means the loop will break. And for any number which is non-zero, it will always be true. So we have decrementing t minus minus. When the value is 0, the false loop will stop executing. Okay, so inside the false loop, while loop, we are taking the row and column and I and j to iterate the elements. We have initialized the first array and second array using the curly braces. So now first what we are doing, we are taking the rows and columns. So using this for loop, we are taking the input for first matrix. Okay, so we have declared the I and j already, so we don't need to write. We are for first row, it is taking all the columns and then it is moving to the next row. Okay, in this way we are taking the elements. This is for to take the elements for the second matrix. After that, we are calculating their sum. Here we are calculating the sum. First, we use you first we apply the for loop till the I less than row to print the row first row column elements. Then the next for loop, which is inside this, will add the values from matrix 1 and matrix 2 and store it to the matrix sum. Okay, then we are printing. For printing, we have to use the same for loop, just we need to what the for loop which we have used for taking the elements, just we have to put instead of C in C out to print the output. Okay, so I will run this code. So it is not giving any error. So code is finished. You can see the first element, first matrix. This is second matrix, and their sum is done. 1 plus 1 2, 2 plus 2 4. The code is right. Is anyone having doubt? Anything?
Okay, so the two problems are implemented.
So I will stop sharing the screen.
Yeah, you can.
Okay.
So guys, this was just the first session, and in the next session we will take more problems on array, and we will cover the array part, and after that we will start with the main data structures, which are stack and queue. Yes, the feedback form is shared, so please fill the feedback form. So it's 5:56 now. We can end the meet now.